Human population. A nice, slowly increasing graph. Ooh, a dip. That's the bubonic plague. Stupid rodents, what are they good for anyway? Anyway, after that it goes back to a nice, steady... Well, that might be a problem. Overpopulation is a highly debated topic. People who think it's an issue claim that in the near future the Earth will be a wasteland, unable to sustain so many people. Others claim that those people are complete idiots, and that more people can only mean more cool stuff. Obviously, both of the viewpoints I just presented are extreme. Most people have slightly different predictions, or realize that nobody can predict the future, and don't even try. But that doesn't mean we can't look at some of the arguments for both sides, and tell an oft-forgotten story along the way. First, the optimistic side. This group claims that we, as humans, have always found ways to increase our resource production. For example, we went from being hunter-gatherers to farming. Then, we domesticated animals, figured out how to turn plant products into more appetizing plant products, and eventually even carefully arranged metal to make it do stuff for us. Therefore, why wouldn't we continue to innovate? There are new technologies on the horizon, such as aquaponics and GMOs. Both could allow us to make exponentially more food in a much smaller space than we can today. Secondly, these people disagree with the idea that humans need nature to survive. At first, this sounds ridiculous. For example, plants make oxygen from carbon dioxide. We need oxygen to live. However, we have always overcome these natural limits. For example, we build pipes and canals to get water to otherwise uninhabitable areas. Finally, the optimists also have some statistics supporting them. Population growth is no longer speeding up, and has actually been slowing down since the 70s. It has even been determined by the United Nations that Europe cannot sustain its current population if birth rates do not begin to rise. With that summarized, we can start to look at the other side of things, the pessimism. That's right, it only gets worse from here. I suggest you stop watching right now. Button is right there. Top left. Wouldn't blame you at all. Okay, so we're going to start this part with like a descriptive thing, okay? Maybe if I care enough, I'll do one of those like cinematic landscape pan things here, you know, like all the vloggers do. Barren wasteland. Devoid of life, a world destroyed, unable to handle the strain of such a large human population. Well, not that extreme, but you get the point. The argument that overpopulation is, in fact, a problem. The first big argument on this side is, drumroll please, China. No, seriously. China has historically had issues with overpopulation, even leading to the recently dismantled one-child policy. Even today, the Chinese people cannot make enough food and need to import it to have enough. Of course, there's also the ever-important issue of climate change. Every person that has ever lived has left a carbon footprint on this planet. As climate change continues to become a bigger and bigger problem, more people contributing to the accumulation of greenhouse gases will only jeopardize our remaining resources even more. This isn't the full story, however. There is another, admittedly less common, argument for this side. I have a story to tell you. In the medieval time known as 1968, an experiment was taking place in the mythical land known as Maryland. This was run by a man named John Calhoun, and he built a mouse utopia, a place with nearly unlimited resources for the mice, and space for 3,000. The goal was simple: see what happened to the mice as they reached the limits of their living space. 4 breeding pairs of mice were introduced into the pen, and they started reproducing. For almost a year, the population doubled every 60 days. Suddenly, the population peaked, and mice started to exhibit strange behavior. Violence and competition for mates started to occur, and some male mice gave up on finding a mate altogether. These loner mice stayed at their bedding as much as These mice stayed by their bedding as much as they possibly could. There were also mice who I refer to as the beautiful ones. These were females that quickly found mates, and then retreated and let their mates guard them. These females exhibited similar behavior to the loners, but even more extreme. The beautiful ones would stay at their beds, do nothing but eat, sleep, and groom themselves. Other mice also didn't fare well. Many of those remaining gathered in the main squares, competing over limited food, despite there being plenty of food elsewhere. These changes weren't just surface level either. Mice that were removed from the megacity and placed in smaller, more intimate habitats continued to exhibit the same behaviors. An irreversible, fundamental change had occurred in these mice's brains, changing how they thought, how they lived, and how they processed information. These were so extreme that among the limited mice who had children, the babies were frequently stillborn. Even the surviving kids didn't fare well, with females having successful litters, followed by seemingly forgetting that half or all of their children ever existed. Now, a lot of you probably think that I'm stupid for thinking that any of this would happen to us larger, smarter humans. However, the reasoning for that is simple. Mice act a lot like people. But that is a story for another time. In conclusion, overpopulation is a complicated issue, with many arguments coming from all sides. I believe that the eventual results are clear. We will push Earth to its limits, but forget to make sure that all of us are psychologically sound. However, I'm probably wrong. After all, I'm still just a guy on the internet. Despite that, I hope that this has helped clarify some of the ideas on both sides. Maybe other idiots will be able to make different uninformed opinions based on that. Isn't that what we all really want from this world? Hey, I've been working on this video for a really long time. I'm sick of it. I'm not proud of it. It's whatever. If some of the audio at the end sounds different, that's because it was recorded months after the original audio. Also, there's a new name, and I'm running out of time, so, goodbye.